This is the Isle of Palms podcast, produced by Island Vibes, the Isle of Palms upscale monthly publication. The Isle of Palms podcast is all about the people, places, and events that make this island a slice of paradise.
I'm excited again because we're doing another Isle of Palms podcast. We have a special guest. She's running for consul. And Susan Hill-Smith, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day on Isle of Palms. Susan,
last night you guys had a debate. How did it go, do you feel?
I thought it was great. I mean, it was a solid hour and a half of questions, and we really got into some great issues. And I think we all had a chance to, explain what our positions were. And the audience was a great audience. And I just appreciate how engaged our community is in terms of turning out for those kinds of events. And, the voter participation on our island is really incredible.
I agree, because it's really not about the candidates to some extent. It's about their community, and that's what Island Vibes is all about. You have lived on the island for 30 years.
Yes. And so fun fact that I actually forget to tell people a lot of times, but my husband and I were visiting here before we moved here. And we got engaged while we were staying here with my dad and our family. My dad had rented out what is now called the Flamingo House,
okay,
the Boulevard, and for obvious reasons if you drive down that street. And so we got engaged here, and a couple months later, we actually wound up moving here. Stayed in a J.C. Long house for the first 6 months, and then moved over to 23rd Avenue, where we've been for 30 years. We've raised 3 kids here, and it's just really been an amazing, magical place to live. I've always thought that it was so great that you could live in a place like this but have your everyday life.
If you could take all the joy you receive from the island, what do you like the most about living on?
In addition to all the wonderful things that we have here, the beach, the salt marsh, the creeks, and all the activities that we can do, it really is the community. I mean, being able to raise 3 children here and to have this wonderful asset of the recreation center where we were able to do so many activities, and that's just a bike ride away, those kinds of things. And the size of the community, I think, really lends itself to people being able to get to know each other and to be great neighbors to each other.
You probably saw a little bit of that last night with a room full of residents, did you not?
Right. I think that the size of this community really does contribute to the level of engagement, because honestly, I think most residents probably realize that they know at least one council member personally, if not more. They know the mayor. They're invited to come to coffee with the mayor, and they actually do. So those are all just the size, I think, is really helpful.
Besides serving the city council over the years you've been on the island, what have you been involved in within the community?
So my husband and I have always been really engaged in the community. And for me, that has included serving on the Sullivan's Island Elementary School PTA board, Lang Middle School's School Improvement Council, serving on the board for the swim team for the islands. And also more recently, I've gotten engaged, helped to co-founded the Isle of Palms Cleanup Crew, which I continue to lead. And that's a great grassroots group. We use volunteer power to keep the coast clean. So we have an active calendar of litter sweeps, and we partner with the South Carolina Aquarium. So we use their litter journal, and we know by collecting data that we have documented and collected more than 215,000 litter items since we started in 2018. And that data helps us to, get the word out and also prevent pollution.
So part of your relationship with the aquarium is feeding them data, and the data that you're feeding them is actually the trash data? How do they use that, Susan?
So South Carolina Aquarium's conservation team has this litter journal that groups all up and down the coast and really throughout the state use, and they provide what essentially we call a tally sheet for you to record what you're collecting along the way. And so we team up, and usually we're sending volunteers out in groups, and one person is tallying what the other people are collecting.
Who organized that relationship between the island and your group and the aquarium?
Well, it really got started when our city administrator put me in contact with Katrina Limbach, who is one of the owners of the Isle of Palms Beach Chair Company. And we had both been asking Desiree about starting a regular litter sweep. And so she connected us, and we just took it from there. We both have some great marketing and communication skills, so that was super helpful. Trina designed a beautiful logo that has really, shown for us. And she's actually the one who I think reached out to the aquarium. So from the very beginning, we've been partnering with the aquarium, and we provide their biggest data set for litter of all the groups that they work with across the state.
Island Vibes, honest, sincere, and factual.
So excited about the new independent newspaper covering all the positive news on Isle of Palms. Thank you so much for this new publication. Very good, thanks.
Island Vibes rock!
Island Vibes is a deal.
You're watching the Isle of Palms podcast.
How long ago did you serve city council the first time?
So I served from 2018 to 2021, and it was a really active period. We hired a new city administrator, a new police chief. We kicked off some major drainage initiatives that were really needed. And just recently, phase 3 drainage, a project that started when I was in my early years of that term, that has been completed, and it's allowing through major outfall renovations for water to flow off the island without flowing back in. And it's a kind of a great piece of helping now that we can do other projects from that same basin in the Forest Trail and Waterway Boulevard area to make sure that water is going to keep flowing out instead of in.
So, and you were there when that big word everybody dreads to even say, COVID, was there.
Right. We did navigate COVID, and that was tricky. And it was a lot of extra meetings and learning things like Zoom and all of those kinds of things. But we got through it. And one thing, some good things came out of that. For example, the recreation department had a mastermind idea to have a Halloween golf cart parade that, they always have this great Halloween event with the costumes and at the recreation center. And that really wasn't possible for that first year or two of COVID. And so they created this golf cart parade that has lived on and has been so much fun. So that's one good thing that came out of COVID.
What's the biggest reason you're running again?
I will say, in June, I actually left my full-time work with Blackbaud to purposefully, because I'm just really wanted to do what I'm most passionate about, which is working to do good things around the environment and also my community. And so I was planning to run next year and 2025 until this special election came up. But one thing that is really concerning to me, and I believe is something that we really need the community to be educated about and understand that we need to be working on solutions for, is the fact that sea level rise is going to be another foot of sea level rise for our community by 2050. And that's something that has kind of come out recently with a report that is in the early stages of being shared with our community at different committee levels and ultimately will be more well known. But with that, we really have to get proactive around resiliency, and that includes beach preservation as well as working on drainage projects. We have a comprehensive list of drainage projects that include 5 projects that we haven't gotten to. They're major projects, and they involve Merritt and Carolina Boulevards, as well as Ocean Boulevard. And another section of Palm that we need to get to kind of around the 30th Avenue area. So those are things that we have and know what we need to do, but we need to go ahead and get them moving faster so that we're prepared.
2050 is not that far away, really.
It is not that far.
It's kind of hip and it's kind of trendy now to be an environmentalist. But hearing you talk and learning about you prior to the podcast, I think you've been an environmentalist for quite some time, way before it was trendy. Were you not?
Well, it's always been in my heart. And, one great thing that we did during my term, I helped advance and develop the Environmental Advisory Committee that we added, which is citizens. And, I was actually surprised at the level of expertise that we have in our community in a variety of different environmental fields. And obviously, like Mary Pringle from the Turtle team was a perfect choice to be on the Environmental Advisory Committee. But we had some people who have expertise in water quality and wildlife management that I actually didn't even know. So we created that committee, and they're doing some amazing work that really City Council didn't have the bandwidth to think about all of these things. And so I'm super proud of that. And because obviously, these issues are huge. They can't be tackled alone or by any one person. I'm happy to be working on the litter issue with Isle of Palms cleanup crew. But honestly, that has always been a group effort. We're engaging hundreds over the years, probably thousands of people, of volunteers that are helping us tackle that problem.
Because I publish Island Vibes and we do a lot of interviews with individuals that live on the island, our newspaper is about the island exclusively. What I found is you're exactly right. There are some very talented, passionate, and highly educated people on the island in different vertical trades, so to speak.
Yes.
And I think that lends itself to what you're talking about. It makes for a very strong community. Journalism dear to my heart, as you can tell I hope you like. Do you like it when you read Island Vibes? Do you like reading it?
I do. I think it's awesome.
The reason I even say that is because I know you come from journalism and you come from marketing and communication. You look at Island Vibes, probably, be honest now, with a critical eye because of your background. Because of that, I was wondering how your trade or how your background that you have, how will that help the big picture on Isle of Palms?
Well, what I found and I expected when I was serving the first time was this ability to dig into issues and talk to a lot of people and listen to all sides, gathering that information, and then also being able to share what it's all about, what an issue is about, back to the community so that they understand the reasons behind the decision making.
That's a strong part of journalism is who delivered the information,
Right.
what was the purpose of them delivering the information, and are they credible?
Right.
Do you agree with that?
I do. And really, I did spend about a dozen years as a reporter. And so you've got to be ready to dive into any situation, look at any topic, and talk to anybody. So those are really great skills for life in general, but they have served me well on city council for sure.
Since you've lived on the island so long and you've raised a family there, how old are your children and how many do you have?
We've got 3 kids. Our girls are 25 and 23. And our son, who we just took to University of South Carolina, is 19.
And they've all grown up on the island.
They have, but yeah, from the time they were babies. I mean, we landed here pretty early in terms of not being too far out of college, and we were just getting married when we moved here as well, and so this is really our home.
I raised my oldest on the island for several years. We moved on the island 79, and
Oh,
we lived there to 87. And one of the things that I enjoyed, and I was a single dad, one of the things I enjoyed, I always felt that it was safe.
mhm,
And if I had to go off the island to do work, which I often did, because we didn't work from home like we do now as much,
mhm.
I really did feel safe. And I suspect raising your children, you probably felt the same way to some extent, did you not?
Yes, we definitely felt very safe here, and just the opportunities for them to be here. And well, first of all, to go to Sullivan's Island Elementary School, where they're also, sharing about the environment, the coastal environment, and then to do things like our oldest daughter was able to do the beach volleyball juniors league at the Windjammer. I mean, how many kids get to do something like
Agreed. Agreed.
going out and kayaking and boating and all of those things, and then hanging out at the marina.
It's a lifestyle in paradise for sure. Susan,
Yeah.
I want to thank you for being on Isle of Palms podcast and for reading Island Vibes.
Well,
But
yeah,
I
really enjoy
wish
it.
you the best,
Thank you.
and I appreciate you spending the time with us here on Isle of Palms podcast. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening or watching the Isle of Palms podcast, produced by Island Vibes, the Isle of Palms upscale monthly publication. Find past and current episodes by visiting isleofpalmspodcast.com.